Hey everybody, welcome back to Beach Planet. My name's Steve, and I hope you have had a wonderful January. Can you believe it? We have gone through a long month. January, 31 days, and it's Monday, and we are pushing into February. This video will be released on Tuesday, but we are starting a new month. And I want to ask you to reflect on how have you entered 2026? What have you accomplished? What have you initiated? Where are you best engaged? And have you executed on any of your plans? And if we're already into February, I ask you, do you even have plans? Have you considered what's next? Have you considered what's coming? Have you considered what has happened? Because these are all the indicators, these are all the clues, this is all the information that we get to work with in order to proceed for development and for improvement, which is why I'm always, at least so far, discussing the topic, the exciting topic, the dynamic topic of leadership. I live with leadership every day of my life. I do all that I can to keep me in the very best place, to stay grounded in what I call leadership. And like I said before, it's really everybody that you work with or learn from or look up to. You are attracted to their leadership level. If you're not sure what leadership is, continue to look it up, continue to think about it, continue to remain curious about leadership. It's one of the things that I'm grateful for in my life is that I have remained curious about leadership. I have remained curious about what leadership actually is, about what leadership actually means. And most importantly, I have looked to others to observe what is their leadership all about. How can I learn from somebody else's leadership? It's a little bit confusing because most people think that the word leadership means you or somebody else will take control. That's not what leadership means. It means that you have an amount of control, an amount of contribution, an amount of participation that you can take care of very well, that you can accomplish, that you can execute in the very best way based on who you are, what you know, and how much you care, and how much effort you put in. So that's what we get to watch others do. We say, how do they care? What's their effort? How do they apply it? What are they doing? What are they doing better? What could I do better? What don't I do as well? We get to compare because that's how we grow. And if we compare to those who don't do as well as we do, who don't know what we know, then we get to teach. We get to reach for others. Now, the journey in leadership can also be mistaken for wanting to change others. You do not change others. Others want to seek the development. They need to seek the improvement. They need to seek the next level of leadership. Sometimes it's by association. You will be influenced. Sometimes we will change our habits. Sometimes we will change how we think. Sometimes through time, we will mature. And as we mature, we get to adjust our ways. We get to adjust how we think, what we do. We get to adjust how we think and what we do, where we're at. Because in the different places that we visit, whether it's work, whether it's home, whether it's with friends, whether it's at a certain establishment, or on a certain day of the week, or during a certain period of our lives, we can change constantly. And what I've come to learn in leadership is that as much as we learn about ourselves, especially in our 20s, in my 20s, I could see that I was very dynamic. I could see that I was in many types of circumstances, and that I would adapt well to each circumstance. I'll give you a couple of examples. I would do well at work. I would do well with supervisors. I would do well with those who worked with me. I would do well with those who worked for me. I would work well with those I worked for. And I would work well with those above me who were also in the company. But I was able to adapt to basically each level of leadership, to each person, to each position. And these things taught me how to work with others on a case-by-case basis, and how to adapt, and also how to know what time it is. We all need to remember, what time is it? Who is this person? What do they do? How do we work together? Do I work for them? Do they work for me? If they work for me, what is my duty to them? If I work for them, what is their duty to me? And vice versa. So you start to really key into relationships and positions. And what you want to do is you want to care as much as possible about what time it is, about who is who should be doing what. And of course, we all make mistakes, and we all journey through attempting to have a great understanding while we develop in leadership. I could see that when I was out of work, when I was mountain biking, I used to race downhill mountain bikes. And I used to hang out with a different group of guys, and I used to learn a different skill. That was scary. That was very challenging. That was very new to me. But I went there, and I guess by default or naturally, I humbled myself to want to be around these guys, to learn from these guys who were much better than me, who were maybe athletes, maybe had mentors or had better equipment than me. But I wanted to learn about what it was they were doing. So I began to train on my own. I began to learn a little bit on my own, and I was always interested in being around them to learn from them. And these were guys with different personalities. So maybe by default, maybe because I knew better, maybe because I came up in an era where whoever it is I was learning from, I had to be humble. Why? To learn from them. How could you learn from somebody and not be nice to them, not be grateful to them, not want to serve them, to keep them part of your life, part of your development, part of what it is you want to learn? And then even better, you end up becoming actual friends with these people. This is how life works. This is work. Same with work. You can be some level of friends. You can be grateful for some level of support. You can be grateful to give support. And then those who you support will be grateful to you. This is how you develop great relationships. This is how you explore and discover purpose. This is how you explore and discover value. This is probably one thing that I will continue to share, which is value. Definition of value, look it up for yourself, but it is usefulness of. How useful are mentors to you? How useful are others to you? And this does not mean to judge people's usefulness according to you. That's not what this means. This just means recognize your value. How useful are you? Where, when, and why? And if you couple purpose with value, you get a great combination, because if you put purpose first, you're really never worried about what it is you need back. You understand that my purpose is to be of value every day, all day, to me, to others, to my job, to my friends, to my neighbors. And then we will determine maybe how useful others are to us. And here's what I mean by that. Are people bad for you? Are people not contributing to your improvement? Are people tearing you down? Are people against you? Are you sure they're against you? Are you sure they're tearing you down? Or are you fast to cut people off? Do not be fast to cut people off. People who are difficult to be with, people who are difficult to work with, people who are difficult to be around. This is where we can gain the opportunity to strengthen our character, to give people time to reflect. Who's difficult? Is it them or is it me? There's many times that we can adapt or we can adjust for the greater good of the cause, which is to hold on to a relationship, to really catch ourselves, to say, am I just in a bad mood? Is that my temper? Am I being selfish? Is the problem in this situation me? And if we go through that journey, we can actually take inventory and we can start to make these adjustments and we can start to determine, you know what? I think I have been more of the problem. Glad I didn't cut that person off. Because a lot of times in life, we cut people off that we shouldn't have cut off. We have to determine who we are. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We can't go around fighting everything and everybody because we want everything our way. We can't go around expecting everybody to be like us. And we can't go around expecting for us to be like others. This is a very dynamic and complicated journey. That's why leadership is so important. Because the people that you don't see as healthy in your life, or you start to determine that maybe I need to separate for a period, temporarily, or for now, because that's the best I can do, then you will start to understand how to make decisions. Maybe how to distance yourself from those who don't help you, those who hurt you, those who attack you, those who are against you. Now, how do you determine that? Again, you have to give it time. You cannot be hypersensitive. You cannot be hyper judgmental. And then you cannot be sensitive, and then you cannot be judgmental. Because you have to use all relationships to build character. And in order to build character, you have to continue to raise your ceiling of tolerance, especially while you understand what is happening, especially while this is your opportunity to hold yourself accountable, to call yourself out and say, I'm the problem. I'm obnoxious. I'm annoying. I'm taking too much. I'm not giving back. I'm caught up in myself. I'm selfish, 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 selfish. Whatever it is, you have to question yourself. Am I being selfish? Is this them or is this me? Because that there naturally will cause some distance that is healthy. Sometimes we expect too much from people. Sometimes we want too much of their time. We want too much of their space. So if we start to reflect, what is the problem? Because we are judging others, we can take inventory and say, maybe I need to chill out. Maybe I need to give them space. Maybe this has been a little too much, right? I believe we start to come to our senses as we mature and as we reflect on our journey in real time. Do not jump to conclusions. Be patient. Be patient with yourself and be patient with others. Some relationships take years to develop, years for improvement, years to blossom, to bloom, to be the best relationship it could be. Sometimes relationships take months or years. And if you play your cards right, decades. Because there will be a development. There will be maturity. There will be opportunities. Opportunities in relationships are a blessing. You get to be there for people when you didn't think you could be there for these people. Because life tells a very interesting story. And the longer we can be a part of each other's lives, the more opportunity there is to help others, to love our friends deeply, to not hold expectations on how much we could see them or should see them or where they should be or who they are, what they're doing. We are able to detach with respect and with love and say, I'll see you when we can see each other. I'm sure time will let us know when it's time. Leadership is woven, is all throughout this process I'm describing right now. Like I tell you, podcast and podcast again. Leadership is complicated. Leadership is deep. Leadership is a lifelong journey. Think, reflect, adjust, apply, improve, repeat. That formula has helped me tremendously in business, in my marriage, in my friendships, in my family, in my health, in my mind, in my journey, in my faith. The more time you spend focused on all that matters most, the better result you will get in improving and maturing in your life. You will see development like never before. And hindsight's 2020, which is when you get to look back and you get to calibrate your leadership to see how far you've come, to see all the changes you've made. Why don't you do it now? Maybe you haven't made many changes. Maybe because you haven't made many changes, you have kind of suffered because you haven't made any adjustments. You haven't held yourself accountable. You haven't thought things out over and over and over again. Not obsessively, not to where it's torture, not to where it hurts you, but in a healthy way. To think, what could I do better? What do I continue to do that is not so good, or that is not good at all, because it continues to get me the same result? There was a time in my life where I said, you keep doing that and you keep getting the same result. You are the problem. Stop doing that. This is the Beach Planet USA podcast channel. My name is Steve Gerardo. I hope you enjoyed the content so far. Why don't you share it with somebody, please? Come along on this journey. There's so much more to come. I can't wait to start releasing interviews, to start releasing more topics that definitely will be tied to leadership, to entrepreneurship, to growth, to development, to improvement. And I hope you stay tuned. It's February. I say it's February is for focus. Avoid distractions. Enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and please share this video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.